What's up, everybody? Welcome to Gregway, episode 1, right here on patreon.com/kindafunny and or patreon.com/kindafunnygames for you, the supporters who make it all happen. Cheers to an amazing January 2020. Can you believe it? 5 years of Kinda Funny. Cheers. I'm drinking. I think we're putting up this audio too. I'm drinking if you can't see me. I'm also making sure I'm recording. Yeah, of course, not on the studio. Here on the back of the office. On the back patio of the office. And I say patio, I mean the roof that we're not supposed to be on. Don't tell the landlord. Right in there is the kitchen. You can see through there into the breakfast nook we talk about, into the kitchen. But I thought, obviously we're ripping off Cuppa Jones for what we're doing with Gregway this time around. And so the idea with this show is it can be whatever we want it to be. It can be a vehicle to be anything I want it to be, anything you want it to be, whatever we're feeling for. But the idea is that it's supposed to be more intimate, right? It's not supposed to be in the studio. It's not supposed to, it's not, it could be in the studio. Don't hold me to that. I know I say stuff and then it happens the other way. But the idea, of course, is that do we want to do it in the studio? Do we want to do it at an event? Do we want to talk about comic books? Do we want to talk about games I'm playing? Do we want to, whatever's on my mind. But it's really whatever's on your mind. The idea is, of course, to have a personal conversation with me. And I hope you feel like you already have that, whether it be through a tweet, me responding to a Reddit thread, any of the thousands of shows we put out. But I digress. Today we're going to really go into your questions, which you send into patreon.com/kindafunny, patreon.com/kindafunnygames. Of course, games, if you're a gold member, Patreon Kinda Funny, I'm going to drink more beer. Take it easy. I don't have to be in performance mode. It's a beautiful Wednesday here in San Francisco, California. Tim, Blessing, Ryan McCaffrey, and Ray are in there doing the Gamescast Xbox thing. I finally got to answer emails, which is very important to my job in the Kinda Funny business. And then I saw this on the calendar from yesterday when I didn't do it like I was supposed to and got Joey mad at me. God bless Joey Noel for trying to keep her eye on the ball and keeping things and making it all work around here. So again, idea here is simple with Gregway. A chance to talk to me. It can be inside baseball. I completely like Cuppa Jones. Of course, this is a replacement for the comic book show, Greg's Comic Book Club. We can still talk comics on here. I have things to say about all those things, but we're going to get into them with your questions, so I might as well just get it started, right? Let's see what's going on here. So let's just start at the top. Of course, you guys sent in a gajillion questions. Not all of them made it. I have a whole bunch here. If I didn't answer your question, it's probably because we've already answered it somewhere else. And there's only so many times I can tell you to go check a Reddit thread or Google. Google's always the thing. What does Greg Miller order at Portillo's? There's a YouTube video for it. What Superman comics do I recommend? There's a YouTube thing for it. Where should you jump into comics? You are now a Patreon supporter at the $1 level or above, right? You have access to, 20-some Greg's Comic Book Club episodes. I digress. We're going to start with Jack Schultz. Jack Schultz writes in and says, once you move into the new studio, do you anticipate a ramp up in new hires or start an internship program? Or will it continue to be steady trend we are currently on? Great question. And of course, I digress. It's an intimate thing. I'm jumping in. Thank you, of course, for all your support. Like I said, in the month of January, 5 years of Kinda Funny. Insane. What a crazy month it's been in terms of the support for Blessing, the support for PS I Love You, the support for all the new shows, all the new initiatives, the studio. You've all been fantastic, let alone the fundraising thermometer. Of course, I think I was going to go up pretty quick. So, Friday we're doing the stream again, another 12 hours. You all have been so incredibly inspiring and awesome. And, I really do feel we're making the best stuff of our careers. And so it's awesome to see that reflected with you guys, whether it be your responses to In Review. DCEU In Review, of course, killing it right now. Batman v Superman, you don't know what I'm talking about over here. But then, I feel Kinda Funny Games Daily's been on another level. I think PS I Love You's been on another level. I think all the other shows are there too. Maybe not KFAF, that's still a huge failure, and we need to get rid of it. Anyways, though, to Jack's question, right? January, we announced we're here. It's our 5th year, and we have a brand new studio, 4,800 square feet, basically 5 times what the current studio is. And we hope to be in there later this year. Knock on wood, sooner than later. Jack, to answer your question, do I anticipate a ramp up of new hires? No. We're going to hire new people throughout the years, but Kinda Funny has always been and will continue to always be, we identify what the pain point is and what the hire would be for it and then move on it that way. I don't think it's so much as long-term goals. Obviously, we have long-term plans and a whole bunch of stuff like that, but, like Tim and I were talking about on one of the shows, maybe it was the stream itself, right, of what the future is. And I know some people get so worried about us losing who we are if we got too big. The idea is to, even if we look a decade from now, or I guess maybe 5 years from now at our 10-year anniversary, we don't see ourselves being, oh gosh, sorry, the thing is my new MacBook that I got, that Nick got me. So it went away. I want to make sure. Okay, it did the thing where it's screen saved on me. That's going to be a problem. I should have figured that out before. I guess I can probably fix it and not screw this up because it's a new computer. I'm used to having crappy old computers. Really decent. Hold on. So you do this, and I'm going to do a screensaver? Is that right? Yeah, there it is. Okay, screensaver. Maybe it's power saver. That would be more helpful, right? Yeah, no, that's just saying I have a screensaver. Start after. Hold on. We'll go back. We'll go to power. Energy saver, that's the motherfucker that's fucking me right now. Turn the display off. Never. Your computer may use more energy. No shit, do it. Alright, so now we're good, I think. Probably. And we're still recording. So everything is great. Oh, so yeah, we don't see us, more than doubling, right? So I mean, you figure we're 9 people now, and we're pulling that number out of our ass. Of course, don't throw it in our face when we're 500 people in 2 years. Kidding. But no, we have no plans for rapid, crazy expansion. Obviously, there's more hires we'd like to have, but even with the desk space we're doing right now is we're doing mock-ups of what the new studio would look like. We're only putting in there for our 9 people. I think it's something like 12 desks. So it's not, and that's not, those desks will not be filled immediately. Those are for when Imran or Fran comes over to do stuff. When Jen wants to work from the office, maybe rent it from us. We make some money off of her, make some money off of Porty. No, I think we're going to be on the steady trend we are. Maybe it speeds up. I don't think you should anticipate that every January 5th or whatever the stream is that there is going to be a new hire, but that seems to be working for us right now. Like I said, it's when we're bringing the right people in, I think, or when we know what we need, that's when we bring the right people in. Pedro writes in and says, how do you, Greg, handle playing a ton of games at once? Currently, I'm trying to finish Fire Emblem 3 Houses, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, and some Stardew Valley sometimes. Plus, also working 20 hours a week at my job. For the most part, I don't play multiple games at once, which is why you see me say I'm going to platinum something like Metal Gear Solid or finish something like Persona 5 and then putter out on it and just not do it, right? It is the problem of I can't split my attention that way. And so, the way I play games most of the time, because of our career, I think, and job, right? And the fact that there's always another thing. I wow, I have Patapon now, that's great, but I know Dreams is coming in 2 weeks, let alone the things I need to play around it, right? I try to binge everything. I try to really, really binge games and power through them and roll credits and then hopefully stick around and get the platinum, whatever, or put them on the back burner. But as I record this, right, it's Wednesday, meaning it's Thursday other places, meaning I will not be the first person to platinum Patamon 2, which is a heartbreaker, of course. But I don't have the free time in the next 3 days to sit there, play it, and crush it and be done with it, right? I'd have to ignore all my duties here. I'd have to ignore Jen. I'd have to ignore Portillo. It just doesn't work. And so that's how it works for me is how do I handle playing multiple games at once? I really don't. I applaud you for trying to do Fire Emblem in Tokyo and Stardew, but for me, I have Tokyo Mirage Sessions and Fire Emblem for that matter, I guess, on my Switch, and I know how long they are, and I know that I want to be able to see it through. Even Valkyria Chronicles 4, I love Valkyria Chronicles. I was so excited for that on Switch and played it, as it goes. It was a 16-hour straight where I started playing it at London Heathrow, played it the entire flight back to San Francisco, and then when I got home and Googled how much further I had in that game, and granted, I already put 10 hours in, it was something like 22 hours. It was I was halfway through the chapters or whatever, and I was like, I gotta go. Peace out, love the game, love what you're doing here, but I just can't commit to it because now I was back and I had to do something, and I know the next time, same with Octopath, right? The next time I pick up my Switch, I'm not going to be in the headspace to remember what was happening or where it's going to go, and it's going to be a non-great experience for me. So when you see something like Death Stranding come out, right, that was a commitment of, I am playing this non-stop, and the PlayStation traveled with me, and here at work and stuff, I would make sure when I had free time I was playing it. That's how I deal with it, and again, I think that's more the career than anything else. But I think, what you're trying to balance all this stuff, Pedro. There's something great to that because you get more out of your games. I think you listen to us on these shows, you want to hear us talk about the latest, greatest things, you want to be part of those conversations. I think when it's not your job and you can't, yesterday I was before in review, I was like, you know what, I've completed my email, I'm kind of stressed out, let's do 45 minutes of Patapon. I just did 45 minutes of Patapon, and I felt great. Then we had what is the best in review of all time, Batman v Superman. So it can't be any better than that. Ignacio Rojas writes in and says, hey Greg, how's it shaking? Pretty good, Ignacio. As I'll be in SF the rest of the semester, I'd like to know your recommendations, places to eat at, places to see, events to attend. Hopefully I'll bump into you one of these days, but until then, as always, keep being awesome. Ignacio, there of course is a dated Patreon exclusive, I believe, Game Over Greggy show about what you should do here, but it's all the same. Square Pie, guys. It's all gonna be eating for me, right? Eating and drinking. Square by, guys. 21st Amendment. Fiorella, I like a lot now too. I already said wing wings, right? Did I say wing wings? Wing wings. Yeah, I said square pie, guys. Wing wings as well still. The Academy of Sciences does this cool Thursday night thing. If you saw those photos of, it's called Nightlife. If you saw the photos of me and Jen dressed as Star Wars characters out in San Francisco, they had a Field of Force night. They do a bunch of events like that. But basically, it's well, you would know it. A lot of people who came to Kind of Funny Live, right? We did an event there, or a meetup there. But the idea is that they do this Thursday Nightlife thing, which has like silent discos. It's a planetarium. It's a herb garden. It's an aquarium. It's all these different. It's like penguins. It's this Academy for Sciences, right? It's a museum or whatever they want to call them. I don't know how many things at once. What you call that? But anyways, go to one of those. You get to drink. You get to wander around. You get to do the silent disco. You get to see all sorts of cool planetarium shit. That's great. Tyler Lambert says, do you read your comics physically or do you go digital? I've always tried to get physical copies when it's a book I want to collect. I'm curious what you do and how your comic reading has changed over the years. Of course, I urge you to go watch all of Greg's Comic Book Club. Multiple episodes up, all available for you right now. Hours and hours of entertainment. I am 100% digital. And that was a conscious decision that when I left home to go to college and was broke and had no room, I would go to the Mizzou bookstore and just read comics off the rack and then put them back on the shelf. And once I moved to San Francisco and was broke and had no room, I was very clear and public on early Twitter of like, I will not buy comic books like loose, issue by issue. I did a bunch of trades, so I built out a collection that way and actually ended up selling a lot of them when I needed to make ends meet. But I was very clear that it needed to be digital. So when DC did their whole reboot, if you remember, when New 52 actually began, that was the first time they were like, we're going day and date digital. And Marvel was around there too, but I wasn't a Marvel guy. Image was already doing it. That's when I jumped in with Comixology, and I've never looked back. I love digital comics. I spend way too much money on comic books. I have a huge collection of digital comic books, and I don't care because when I had them, like my dad still has all my long boxes of single issues back home. I never went back in there. It was like I understand it because I still collect other stupid stuff like Superman Funko Pops, but the idea of like, here are all my comic books, I collect these, like it wasn't it has no appeal to me now, and I think that's where I live. I obviously, we're in a 2-bedroom apartment, like there's not a lot of room for that kind of stuff, but I went digital. I love digital. I love having everything at my fingertips ready to go. It's the same way I am with my games, right? I just don't see the need for a collection. So as a kid, when I had unlimited space and I wasn't paying the bills, I was fine with it. Now I want digital everything. Tommy Boy says, my biggest question I have about the new studio, how's the internet there? Will you be ditching the Comcast overlords? Internet, of course, a huge part of Kind of Funny, if you didn't know, as an internet company. We are looking into other options. It looked like for the longest time that Comcast was the only option out there, but it looks like Imran came through yesterday with a Hail Mary, and it looks like Kevin was talking actually this morning about it might actually be the solution. So we'll see. Either way, we'll pay for whatever we need to pay for to have the best we can, but we'll see what's going on. Martin Murphy says, with the company moving into a new studio, is there a need for a full-time IT support person yet? I would say no. Obviously, again, it's all pain points and when we run into having too much to do, but by and I know it sounds ridiculous because we have so many problems, but Kevin does a great job at this. Kevin does a great job of making sure all the equipment works, making sure the internet is going the best possible. When something does go wrong, I'm able to DM Comcast and talk to them right away pretty quickly. And then like our machines and stuff, right? Like, the biggest problem was Blessing started, so we had to dust off an old computer, and then Joey had to give him access to Word and like the Microsoft suite. Like, we're not there yet, I don't think, but that could all change because again, the studio is going to give us way more resources and ability to do way bigger productions, and then we'll see, right? Like, what happens with the studio and the control room, and is the director, like, a Kevin or a Barrett, still in the room, or are they in like a control booth off on the side? How does that change the dynamic and all these different things? We got a lot of different things to figure out before we get there and start doing the first show in the new studio. Alexis Perez, you slipped through my fingers here with a, hey, do you have recommendations for comics? Like I said, plenty of YouTube videos up there, and the Comic Book Club has all the recommendations you need. Maybe you're new to Patreon. Thank you so much for your support this month. Stick around, like I said, $1. If this gets up before, I actually have a watch here, but it doesn't matter. If this gets up before the end of the month, remember, you can go back and download all or you can even copy the links for all the Comic Book Clubs before you stop giving us money, and it's no big deal. Brandon Brandon Jig Insane Lagroni. Sorry, I probably screwed that up. Says, as a chef here in the great city of Chicago and a big fan / supporter of Kinda Funny and gaming in general, if I ever made it out to California, would it be possible to do a Cooking with Greggy with you? Or go to a wing spot for a review? Keep Kinda Funny growing, stay great, and hopefully this is the best year yet, until 2021 does even greater. I like how you think, Brandon. No, you cannot do a Cooking with Greggy with me or go get wings. It sounds cold, I'm sure. Obviously, well, Greg, you say we're best friends. What are you talking about? As you all know, we love and appreciate you, and we have a very special relationship with all of you that you invite us in for 4 hours at a time to be in your ears talking nonsense and hanging out and being a part of that. And then we go to meet and greets and we have great times, and we throw Kinda Funny lives, and it's awesome. We talk on Twitter and we do all these different things, and Reddit. We have to have a line in the sand. I'll answer this question in a long-winded Greg way. A lot of people write into me, I would say daily, but if not daily, multiple times a week, right, on Twitter, or email me with, hey, something bad's happened in my life, to me or my friend or my family. We started a GoFundMe. Will you promote it? Will you tweet it? Will you talk about it on the shows? And the answer I always give them, or try to, unless I miss it, right, because there's a million things going on, is I can't. I would love to do this, but the problem is that I get so many of these that if I was to do yours and promote yours, I would feel I'd have to do it for everyone. So to be fair, I do it for no one. It's the same conversation here, where I remember back in the day, man, at IGN, it sounds probably crazy now, but, you know, I always talk about it. When I started the job, I didn't expect the travel or the celebrity. And I use celebrity with quotes, obviously. I'm not a celebrity, I'm an internet celebrity. You know who I am. I'm lucky enough that you pass me on the street, you go, hey, I like your content. I go, thanks. I remember in the old days at IGN when Twitter was just popping off, and it would be a tweet of like, hey, me and my friend are coming to town, can you hang out? And I'd look at Damon, I'm like, do you want to go get fucked up with these kids? And Damon would be like, yeah. And we would go out and we'd get wasted. That was awesome and great, but I can't do that anymore, because if I did it for you, Brandon, then when the next time anybody comes to town and they're like, hey, I want to do Cooking with Greg, and I'm like, I can't, man. Brandon, well, you did it with Brandon. What is it? Does he mean blah, 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 blah? It's the same way when people come by to do Kinda Funny Games Daily, right? Guests that are like up and comers, right? Oftentimes they're like, cool, can I hang out in the studio all day and like just bum around and watch? And I'm like, no, you can't. I'd love it if you could, but the problem with that is if I do it for you, I have to do it for everybody, and days may change. And I'd rather it be that in that moment you don't get it, or not even I'd rather disappoint you now than have it be me disappoint dozens of people down the line on why it can't be that way, right? And I think you understand, and I think I did a good job explaining. But again, Gregway, and in general, if I'm not doing a good job with any of this or you don't agree with it, please sound off in the comments on Patreon. Let me know, tweet me, all that jazz. More beer for me, please. Let's see what we got here. Caleb wants to know my advice for starting an E3. We've done that podcast as well, going to a trade show. Bring business cards, talk to everybody, give them out. Be very polite. Don't be offended when you can't get into stuff. Don't be offended when people don't remember your names. Don't push it. Don't follow people. Mingle. Put yourself out there. It's going to any kind of trade show for the first time and starting in this industry. Very much about putting it out. Gondors wants to know what my major was. It's journalism. I went to the greatest journalism school in the world, of course, University of Missouri. Again, though, you can Google old Gregway, youtube.com/kindafunny, Gregway video game journalism, Greg Miller video game journalism. It's in there. It runs through my whole story. Not to mention I've told my own story a million fucking times, and I'm a boring person. Oh, here we go. This is an interesting one. Mark from Australia writes in and says, hey, Greg. Or he says, hi, Greg, actually. I don't mean to misquote you, Mark. With Portillo, did you ever worry about him jumping off furniture as a puppy, or was it only when he got older? I have a 7-month-old miniature dachshund, and I'm constantly worried he's going to break a leg jumping off of furniture. Thanks for the content. 2020 has been a blast, and it's only January. I agree with you. Mark, no. The story goes that, I think it was, the third day we had Portillo when he was a puppy. I had him up in my arm, and he wiggled free and fell, and he's, that big, right? He fell from my 6'1" height. I guess it would have been lower than that, 5 feet, or I'm holding him probably. He fell to the ground, yiped, and then wouldn't put any pressure on it. And I just burst into tears thinking I broke this dog's leg, and then it turned out he's just a faker and he was fine. Puppies in general, you can throw them off the roof, you can throw them against the wall, don't do that. But they're fine, right? They are meant to be thrown around. Portillo was a psycho. He was a psychopath for years and years and years jumping off, running around the house, he jumped off of everything and never had a problem. It wasn't until he's 15 now. Oh god, this is a math equation. He's 15 now. It's 2020, and it wasn't until 2016 when Jen and my mom met for the first time. They blew out his first thing jumping off a couch. So that's 4 years ago. So 3 years ago. So we're talking. He was 12, right? He was 12ish when he really fucked it up. Checking the math on that. Yeah, because it's not right to the day and day, right? So 12ish, it's a good, you're not gonna be able to stop from jumping. If you can start driving home those habits of carrying them up and downstairs. In the old days, Porty, I would notice his back bending the wrong way when he went downstairs, right? I would see it pop that way. So I would always carry him downstairs and let him run upstairs because his back bent the right way that way. But eventually, as he got older, I just had to start carrying him all the time. And same thing with trying to make him jump or stop him from jumping and getting stairs and all that jazz. I feel I introduced him to stairs too late in his life. I wish I'd done that earlier. Now, he doesn't use them at all because he can't jump off of stuff and I don't want him. Since he blew out the second knee, he's been really good about not jumping off shit, knock on wood. So, yeah, you're not going to be able to stop a puppy. They have unstoppable energy, which is great. Puppies are cool. But, yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about it. You got to do what you got to do, and he's got to do what he's got to do, too. Greg from Edmonton says, Greg, what is your favorite moment during your career so far? Thanks for all you do. Up my Patreon to silver, platinum for January. Because of all the great work you and the rest of the wonderful Kind of Funny team do. Thank you so much. That, of course, means the world to us. Thank you so much for supporting and getting your names on the wall and all that stuff, but I love those stories of, hey, we see what you're doing, so we organically have increased our pledge. That means the world to us. I want to make sure I'm still recording, too. Still recording. Woof. 2 gigs already. That's not good. My favorite moment in my career so far, things that jump off the page are all nerdy things for me, right? It would be the Peace Walker review event here in San Francisco, getting to go to a hotel and just play Peace Walker for 2 days on long tables, surrounded by a whole bunch of different journalists and helping each other out. And, oh, how did you get that, Sam? And Sam would tell me how to do it, and I would go do it. That was rad. Meeting Kojima not meeting him for the first time, right? Interviewing from the first time at E3 and giving him that painting. Game Awards, of course, winning the Trending Gamer. That was a life-changing moment. Something I never ever thought I would get to do. That was pretty. Game Awards is probably it, because that was just figure December 2015. That was the end of year 1 of Kind of Funny, and it was that moment of fuck, we did this and we made it. You know what I mean? Because it's always that thing of we're not IGN, we're not GameSpot, we're not the biggest company in the world, which is good, obviously, but it also is that thing of how much does the industry actually see that? You know what I mean? I think it's so easy in our day-to-day. Something happens, it's good or bad, and it feels like it is the world. But I'll go to an E3, I'll go to a GDC. You mentioned something like that that's so, I don't even know, elementary to what we are or what we do or what happened to us in our story, and they don't know what we're talking about. It's oh, right, you're not watching Twitter like we are for all our own bullshit, which is good and bad, obviously. Okay, Alex says, hey Greg, hope you've had a great start to the year so far. I have. You seem to be having a lot more fun these days with multiplayer games compared to your enthusiasm for them a few years ago. What do you think has changed in your gaming habits to make games like Friday the 13th, Predator Hunting Grounds, Division, Destiny, and Borderlands 3 really speak to you? For me, I think it is those types of multiplayer games, right, evolving to be more like single-player experiences. That's really what it is. I didn't play a lot of... I would never have considered myself a multiplayer gamer before because it was so competitive. It was, PvP. It was get engaged with this, or it was play as a group, but you need your group to progress. You can't do this on your own, right? For my obsessions of this year, this calendar year, in the last 18 months, of Borderlands and Division and, DC Universe Online, there's a bug on my thing, Friday the 13th. It's all stuff I can do on my own, but when Scott Lowe signs on, I can invite him. Or when Jen feels like joining me in Borderlands, she can, and she's not held back by progression or anything like that. She's able to get right in there. And I also feel like everything I'm doing is constantly rewarding me, right? That was the problem, I think, with Division 2, where when I hit the gear score cap, right, and the raid was too difficult, it was well, cool, I don't want to sit here and do builds. I want to continue to evolve and change and feel like I'm getting stuff done, and I don't feel like I'm doing that. Whereas Borderlands 3, right, it's like, okay, cool, you've hit level cap, and I don't really care about what guns I have as long as they're cool. It's more like, cool, now there's Guardian rank to go through and get. Now there's cosmetics to still get. There's more story getting dropped. There's things like that to keep you going. There's a carrot on the end of the stick in the way of, like, an Assassin's Creed Odyssey that kept me around for so much, right? Because there's so much to do in that game and make the character my own. Lionel Johnson says, Greg, my favorite kind of funny moment is definitely you answering my question on Volume 1 of P.S. I Love You XOXO, where I asked about the rumors of Sucker Punch making a Spider-Man game, only for the game to be announced a few weeks later by Insomniac, and you admitting to knowing it was them for a while. I laughed so hard at the fact you entertained my question, even though you probably knew it was all BS at the time. Like, thanks for the years of entertainment and getting me through college. Can't wait for more. Well, that wasn't even a question. That was just Lionel saying thank you. Thank you, Lionel. There was another question. I don't want to lose. I'm gonna bold the next one here, and then I'm gonna look because there's another Inside Baseball one, something like that. Here we go. Let's remember that. Stephen McIntyre. How long ago did you actually know about the Patapon 2 release date? Is this why you wined and dined Shoe and Goldfarb? Anyway, love what you do. Plan on seeing you in the new studio party, whenever that may be. Stephen McIntyre. Yeah, you know, my life is a world of off-the-record information and embargoes and all sorts of dates. To Steven's question, no, that is not why Shoe and Goldfarb came over, of course. They came over because they're trusted friends and family, and love seeing them. And you'd be surprised to be in those rooms and hear how little conversation is about what is happening at PlayStation, what is going on with their games, such like that. You know, I think it might surprise people, too, that I think I'd be more likely to ask a developer I'm having a drink with that I've never met about their game than I would anybody else. Like, you know, like Scott Lowe's one of my best friends in the world, right? I was the minister, or yeah, I guess I was the minister at their wedding, right? I married them. Always sounds so weird because I didn't marry them, right? I officiated their wedding. And I've never in my entire life asked him one question about Naughty Dog, Last of Us Part 2 information off the record. When I go out with Neil, I do not ask him stuff about that. Like, that's just, if I needed to know anything like that, they'd tell me, or, you know what I mean? Like, that's just not what it's about. So, Patapon, man, how long did I know? Not as long as you think. I didn't start the joke. Well, I mean, like, when we started PS I Love You XOXO, I definitely didn't know. When I started doing the bit about the days, I would say probably, 2 weeks out before they hit me up and were like, hey, we'd like to talk to you about Patapon, you know, NDA, yada, yada, yada. And then it was like, hey, yeah, this is going to be the date that it's coming out. We want to do the stream with you. Would you be cool with that? I was like, totally. Sirens are my end, if you didn't know. That's how it generally is, though. Like, right now, I'm embargoed on so many different games to talk to you about, so many different things. And it's great. It's awesome. But, you know, it's part of the job. It's part of life. I've only, that I can think of, fucked it up. Well, I mean, I've broken embargoes on, like, I read a press release too early on Games Daily or something. But in terms of saying something I shouldn't have said, like, because it was super off-the-record information, it only happened once, and it was on a Gamescast we weren't doing live, thank goodness. And it was like, it wasn't even like, hey, here's the release date for this thing. Oh, we don't know the release date. It was way more like, oh, I heard that game's not doing so, isn't coming together. And Tim was like surprised by it, and afterwards like, didn't you know that? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, fuck, maybe that was, you know, it was information. What game was it? I won't tell you, because maybe it's not out yet. Somebody's blowing up my phone. Phone's in the other room, though. Can't do anything about it. Oh. I always screw this one. Anakin JMT says, so whatever happened to WWE in review? Is it coming back? I'd love to hear Cool Greg's take on the Royal Rumble and Brock being a troll and Edge returning. WWE review, yeah, I think was one of those things we wanted to try out on Patreon, and we thought it'd be cool, and we did, and it was a huge bitch to get together because, of course, it's not during work hours because Cool Greg's host James Berg has a job and isn't available to come over in the middle of the day and drink beer and talk about wrestling. So I think that's what's happened to it, is that it never had like a huge following. It had a following, which is great. We love that. But yeah, it was one of those that it became so sporadic that I don't think it's a regular I mean, I know for a fact in 2020 it's not regular programming because we never talked about it. We, you know, told you our whole hand in January and it wasn't part of it. I wouldn't say it's impossible to have those things come back, but your best bet to get those kind of impressions is to tweet Cool Greg. He would do it. Demetrius Newell. Gifted Dim himself writes in and says, "Do you ever feel like the pressure to produce content for Kind of Funny is too overwhelming? I've always been impressed with the work ethic, especially after seeing it in person, but does it ever feel unmanageable? Thanks for everything, D." No. I mean, there's pressure every day of my life, obviously. There's pressure on Kind of Funny at all points. You know what I mean? Me in particular, right, of being the face or the CEO or whatever this company and having now, 8 people? 8 people attached to it, including Tim and Nick. But also then their significant others, their lives, understanding that, like, if I go rogue and blow the whole thing up, I've ruined a lot of lives. At least really fun. So I had to set it back. I don't plan on going rogue anytime soon. But in terms of the pressure to produce content, no. Like, I mean, I think it's pressure we put on ourselves. And what I always talk about, right, is that I think the biggest part was we've crossed the threshold, and we did a long time ago, right, to where I don't mind making mistakes, and I don't mind being late, and I don't mind saying no. I remember, when we first started the first few years, when, we'd put something up on Patreon and it went on the wrong Patreon. We'd publish an episode with the ad or without the ad, whatever. There'd be like some little thing that it got published wrong. The ads were wrong. There's the wrong name bars. That shit would drive me up the wall, and I get so bent out of shape about it. And I'd be like, I don't want to be this company, right? And now, 5 years later, when that stuff happens, it is totally no big deal, because there's thousands of episodes up, right? Like, our batting average is really good for what we do, so screwing it up once in a while isn't the end of the world. But when, there weren't that many videos up and we were screwing it up, it felt like a bigger deal. Now, like, and it's also, the same thing as always of the wisdom of age, right? You know what I mean? You see it all the time. There's some drama on the internet, and it is the thing everybody's tweeting about that day. It is the end of the world. And, like, we've obviously been there multiple times where it's us. We've done something wrong, or we're involved in the drama. And the wisdom of being around long enough to be like, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like, in a week, it'll all been fine. It'll have blown over. We'll have answered the questions, because, of course, we're always going to answer the questions when they're asked. That's helpful to not make, me freak out. Now, that's, of course, my opinion generally on a Monday morning. Friday afternoon, something like that happens, I'm usually in tears. Thomas has a question. It's been brought up here and there on shows, but I'll be quick about it. I really want to know your thoughts on Crisis on Infinite Earths, but mostly the Smallville part. Please, for one of your biggest DC fans. Thanks, Thomas. What up, DC fan? I enjoyed Crisis fine. It was the typical thing of, I don't watch CW shows religiously anymore, and then really anymore. I come back for the crossover stuff. Last night I watched the ending of Arrow to see the ending of Arrow. I enjoyed the Crisis ride. I thought it was a bit too long, a bit too bloated. I didn't enjoy where, like, the first episode of Crisis really was, like, set in universe. So I was like, I don't, like, Lena's yelling at Supergirl, and I'm like, or Alex, and I'm like, I really don't know what you're talking about. Why are you mad? It doesn't matter. Whatever. Let's go. I thought all the crossover, different world stuff was cool. The Smallville stuff, obviously, if you don't know, they went to Smallville Earth with Tom Welling and Erica Durance. It turns out that in that world, in this timeline or whatever, Clark gave up his powers to be a dad with Lois, which is sweet. A lot of people had a huge problem with it because, of course, that they thought that cheapened the whole journey of, like, 10 years of his struggle to become Superman, and then he gives it up after the fact, yada, yada, yada. I didn't care. Like, it's like, me personally, like, I don't think Clark from Smallville would have done that, and it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, so there's no, maybe that's not the Smallville universe. I'm sure there's a Smallville universe that is season 11 from the comic books, that is him being Superman with Wonder Woman and Batman. I thought it was an interesting interpretation, and more than anything, I got to see Tom Welling as Clark again, and I got to see Erica Durance as Lois again. I can't be greedy. I want, I'm a comic book guy. I'm used to Elseworlds. I'm used to one-shots. I'm used to continuity being fixed. I'm sure tomorrow, if they were like, we want to make another Smallville TV show, they'd figure out a way to retcon it and make it make sense. And whatever. I enjoyed seeing them. It was cool to see them. I wished it was more of them. Crisis overall was fun for the most part and ends in a neat thing, but, it's CW shit, so you are watching like, ugh. I think I described it as like 90% of it is crap, and then 10% of it is so good, you're like, I'll put up with any of the crap. Right? Like when at the spoilers for Crisis, at the end when they reveal that like, boom, it's the Justice League table and the Justice League chairs, and then outside it's the Hall of Justice, I was like, holy shit. Grant Burton says, as a fan of so many different mediums, film, games, comics, how do you prioritize them and keep up with them all while also doing normal daily stuff? Well, the answer, Grant, is that I don't keep up with everything the way I should. Obviously, you go back in time and tell high school Greg, obsessed with comics, DC comics, that there is a DC cinematic universe and there's a thriving DC TV show universe and a DC app. And also you tell him in the next breath, you don't watch 90% of it. No way, unbelievable. And even as a huge fan of it, it's often unbelievable. But those are the concessions you have to make, right? Because I go home and I want to see Jen, and I want to talk to Jen, but then I also want to play video games. It's the same reason, I know we're getting ready to do the Final Comic Book Club. Joey's should have just put up a thread about it. It's the reason we're not doing the Comic Book Club in 2020. I love that show, but comics last year, Comic Club really started taking off when there was a lull in games. And so I wasn't playing as much. I was reading way more. And now games are so high that I'm barely reading comics. I'm lucky. It has to be an event, right? Like the stuff going on with Superman, spoilers, revealing his secret identity to the world. I read those books every time they drop. But everything else is just piling up. I'm so far behind on everything that it's a comic book club I love. But even like reading last night, which we'll talk about on the next one, it was like, this is homework and I don't want homework. Video games, even when I'm reviewing something, even when I don't like it, it doesn't feel like homework, right? Even the PSN list we're doing for PS I Love You doesn't feel like homework. So mainly like films I'm always behind on, except for DC or in-review stuff, and Marvel stuff. I prioritize more than mediums, I guess, events, genres, characters, products like that, and where it all needs to go, and what would obviously benefit me for the other stuff. How much more do I got here? Oh, I'm almost there. Not because I'm trying to get out of it. I was just like, I thought I pared the list down to a manageable thing, and I've been going for 38 minutes. Ooh. I don't want to make Blessing look that bad. Don't tell me if Blessing went longer than me. Because, of course, Blessing does his Bless way. Or did he change that? Did he change it to Bless Up? I don't know. I haven't watched it yet. Is it out yet? I'm drinking my beer. Robert writes in and says, "Hi, Greg. Been a fan since a bit before, beyond episode 150. Love you all, kind of funny, and appreciate the hard work you all do." Thank you very much, Robert. We love and appreciate you. My question is, how do you overcome the fear of judgment and criticism? I tend to be hesitant to share anything creative or prolong pulling the trigger on a project because I'm worried about the judgment and criticism I will get for it. One side of me says I shouldn't care what people think, and another side really wants people to like it. Do you feel this way about your projects? You guys do it kind of funny. How do you combat these feelings and just go for it? Interesting question, Robert. A valid question for sure. The answer, of course, is that, I'm not afraid of judgment and criticism anymore because in two reasons, I guess. Criticism, which of course is constructive criticism, and you did this wrong and this is why and here's what it should have been and yada yada yada, or I do agree, I don't agree. That was beat into me at journalism school. I was always way more, putting up a video nowadays or a review at IGN, while terrifying in many ways, it's way more terrifying in school, for me, that I want to be a journalist and I'm learning from all these amazing journalists, and to have my article put up on the screen and then torn apart, right? That was always the big thing. But what worked about it is that everybody got torn apart. Everybody was, put under that microscope, and it worked that way. To go to IGN, right? And again, I've been going since 2007, right? As a professional video game reviewer, critic, talking head, whatever. And, those first months are brutal. Because, yeah, you're putting up articles, you're putting out opinions, and people are like, who the fuck are you, new guy? Nobody... Okay, so it turns out at like 38 minutes, it'll turn off or whatever. I noticed it right away. That I froze, so pretty much a professional video guy over here. Yeah, so you're tempered, you're tempered in a fire there. And so, like, what people want to talk shit on me is that they can't fucking touch me. Like, I'm not, in terms of, yeah, you're talking, the fear of judgment, like, fuck you, I don't care. And that comes back to, I think, a lot of things we've talked about before, right? Which is fake it till you make it. Like, it's easy to say that and then walk the walk and see somebody shit talking you on Twitter, YouTube comments, wherever, Reddit, you know what I mean? Like, you just have to do it. And, like, it's a total cheat for me to even talk about it and say that, right? Because I have you. I have what? The toughest question people ask me, kind of funny, is how big are you guys? Like, when you meet somebody, you're like, oh man, that's really confusing because the YouTube, as you add it up, it's what, half a million, but a lot of those are doubles. Patreon supporters of this. I know how big the podcast numbers are. I have thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are my best friend, that I legitimately mean that, right? That know a lot about me and know my faults and know my achievements, my failings, everything else, and hang out and stay with us and like us enough to support us monetarily, to support us with a view, to support us with your time. The fact that you take the time to listen or watch the content, that's all you need to know, right? So, some random person online talking shit, throwing the column stuff in my face, whatever. I don't care. It's whatever. It's you guys that matter, which is where the criticism comes in of, we put out all this stuff and we hope you like it. Like, I hope this is going well. I hope you're enjoying this content. It's very different, right? It's different in a way that it isn't, where it's going to be lo-fi and not produced. But like Gregway before was questions, but it wasn't this long and we were in a different spot and yada, yada, yada. Like this, but this is the whole thing is like, your feedback on this episode will then dictate what happens on the other episodes, right? Your feedback on our games coverage in 2019 dictated the changes we made in 2020. Your feedback about the morning show and Kind of Funny dictated what we did in 2019. Like, we're making this content for you. So when there is constructive criticism, positive or negative, right? Like, we take it to heart. And so, yeah, it sucks when you make something or do a joke that you think's really funny and somebody's offended by it, or they don't think it's funny, or they don't like the show. But I've made a million great shows that a lot of people really love, you know what I mean? And a lot of people want to hang out and watch. So that's all that matters. And I understand that's easy. That's what I'm saying. It's a cheat code that I get to hang my hat on that. Like, I know people like the stuff we make in some regard. For starting out, though, you just got to jump and realize, like I always talk about, like, you're going to be bad in the beginning. It's not going to have good quality. You're going to be what I was talking about earlier, where episodes are going to fail and lower thirds won't be right. And you're going to lose episodes. You're going to work really hard. And, like, you're going to have to be like us and call Pete Hines and be like, hey, that amazing interview we had with you got deleted. Can you please come in and do it again? And if you're lucky, you'll have amazing people like Pete Hines who are like, sure, come in and do it all over again in a different way that's equally as good. 2 questions left. Sorry. All right, so we got Kian Jarami, who says Kian is pronounced like Keanu without the U sound. So I got it, right? Keanu. Kian. Got it. I nailed it. How long was it till you thought you were good at being an on-camera personality, podcaster, etc.? And is there something outside of practicing that helped you get there? Years and years and years. You know what I mean? In 2007, when I show up, I'm immediately put on Gamescast with Micah, Hillary, and Damon. And I remember doing Kind of Funny, Jesus, sorry. IGN is AFK, which was Tal's podcast. And I remember it was when I came in. They were doing some Metal Gear review, whichever one, I guess it would have been Metal Gear 4 out of Japan, and I came in to do the morning shift of that coverage, get it all up, write it all up, do all that stuff, and then they did it AFK about it, and I went in there and I didn't say a goddamn word, and at the end, Tal was literally like, well, thanks for joining us, Greg, like in the most, like, not passive-aggressive, Tal's great, but in like that way of like just making a joke about the fact that you were here, you said nothing. I still don't, you say, yeah, I mean, are you good? Yeah, I'm good, I guess, but like, I don't think about it that way. You know what I mean? I don't think that I'm good. It's a talent, a skill that I have, but I guess it's not. I probably always had good energy, right? Yeah, hopefully. And I was always, not afraid to talk, I guess. And that's not even true. Like, I don't know. It's all, the way you get good at all this is practicing. And like I'm always talking about, if you want to make a podcast, do it right now. And you might say, oh man, but I don't have the right mic, I don't have the right program, I don't have the right thing. Doesn't matter. I'm making a video for thousands of people right now with AirPods and a computer. I assume you have something similar to this. And when I say that, I mean maybe it's just your phone or your iPad. Or if you're an Android person, your Razer flip phone. I don't know what the fuck those are. But you have a way to record yourself. And so you need to start swinging the bat. I was talking about it, I knew from the 4th grade. Right, no, yeah, that's right. 4th grade, right? That I wanted to write about video games. And the first reviews I wrote were when EGM said, hey, we're hiring a reviews editor. Send in your stuff. That is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard. I knew that in 4th grade, I should have been reviewing every game I played. Not to send him to anybody, to put him in a drawer and forget about him, but I should have been doing that to get good at it. And so like right now, if you're an adult or, in your teens or whatever, you're a 4th grader listening to this and you want to do this, like that's what you need to be doing. That's the kind of passion you need, because you're going to write and record so much crap that you'll eventually learn, right? Like I think about it sometimes. The other day we were doing the a video for the Borderlands show, talking about the next episode. And so I'm reading the teleprompter and I just fucking crush it. Just done. And it was like, at the end of it, like in the middle of the second read, I was like, oh man, I'm killing this. And like when it's that kind of thing, you do it as much as I do it, right? Like it was, as I'm doing it, like, oh man, I'm having a conversation with myself. Like I remember when this is so hard at IGN. I remember when reading off teleprompter was so difficult, which sounds stupid because you're just reading words, but the cadence and the scroll and keeping it going, what do you do when it flubs or you go too far or too fast or whatever. It was amazing that all happened and you didn't know it happens, right? It's that thing where, I remember the first time I learned to ride a bike. And like when I finally did it, I mean, like I did it, and like it was like that thing. But then you don't think about riding a bike ever again, right? Like you just have to do it. It'll take years and years and years. What is it? Thousands of hours to be a master at something. 10,000 hours to be a master. I don't know. I'm not a master at the 10,000 hours analogy. Final question comes from Abigail Warner. Abigail says, will there be a change in the coming months to how long the post shows are? Not only did we lose the pre-show, but the post shows have gotten shorter, with most clocking in about 15 minutes. The pre/post shows were often where I felt like I was getting the most out of my Patreon. I realize you guys have added more shows and added post shows to those as well, so I don't want to sound rude or ungrateful. I love what you guys do and can't wait for more. Abigail, you don't sound rude or ungrateful at all. Thank you for asking. Thank you for supporting. Thanks for having an opinion about any of this, wanting to know, what's going on with it. Post shows have been an interesting thing of what is the right amount or what is the right length? How do we do it? What do we not? You know what I mean? Like one of the questions earlier was like, how do you balance all this stuff? And are you stressed out? And like the stress comes from the fact there's so much to do on a given day. So it is always that thing of how long should a post show be? I remember when Tim said he wanted to add post shows to Games Daily. I was like, dude, that's a lot. And he's like, well, no, I don't mean like, 30 minutes. I mean that you could use one more question because it's 5 days. And so it was like, okay, that makes sense. But like, yeah, if you don't think, for me, it's a quality over quantity thing. And so I feel like pre-shows for like the general podcast, a lot of times were rambling nonsense, which is great. I know how much everybody loves us rambling nonsensically. But it was this question of, how do we make it work? I don't have the answer for that. I think what you've been seeing with post shows is what we were planning on doing, but I want feedback on that, please. On this post on Patreon, please leave me feedback about it. First off, Gregway in general, if this is the kind of content you want. Like I said, there'll be other ones, I'm sure, where I'm in a hotel and I want to say hey or whatever, and this is going on. Also, the frequency of them, too, because this is another question of, like, this is a brand new thing. How long should it be? Should it be one thing? I don't ever want to clog feeds, so it's like, if I did something cool and I want it in LA and I wanted to talk about it, like, should I vlog and put up a Gregway? Should they not be numbered? They should be things, I don't know what to do. Like, I want to do a bunch of different stuff with it, but I also don't want to clog your feed, and I also don't want it to get to Gregway 4 and you'd be like, hey, the first Gregway was 40 minutes and the last Gregways have been 15. Like, I feel like it's nebulous, which is good and bad, because we can do whatever we want with it, but then are we doing what you want with it? So I feel the post shows are quality over quantity. So it is that we have a good question, we have a good discussion, and it goes as long as it goes, and then we move on to go back to answering emails, planning the next show, doing whatever. Especially on nights where it's late, right? Like, I think, it's 5:08 right now. They're probably doing screencast in there to get ahead of the fact that we have the stream on Friday. There's a million different things. You don't sound ungrateful. I hope I don't sound lazy. I want to know your feedback on it. If there should be a set time for him, what you think of Gregways and stuff like that. But I would say the plan currently would be to do it as we've been doing it. I don't want to see them for the big shows, slip too much. But then again, if the quality, it's right back to the thing of we're feeling it out kind of thing, and it's been a month of them now. So Abigail, I need you to tell me what you want out of them, along with everybody else, of course. Not what you want of it. I want everybody else to tell me what they want out of it, not Abigail to say what she wants out of everybody else in Patreon. You know what I mean? Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Gregway. I started out here and it was so nice, and now it is so cold. I'll show you. I got a nice view here. If you've never seen the back of a thing here. Spinning over there, look at that. There it is, the sun setting on San Francisco. See the Pacific Ocean over there? One of the things that definitely we'll miss from this office is the view. Because obviously you've seen the Instagram corner on a million different things, but to look out and see that every day. Now granted, it's bitterly cold usually. You see the fog rolling in, but it's not too shabby, ladies and gentlemen. So yeah, like I said, that's Gregway. What did you think of it? Let me know. Tell me how good my hair looks, because I'm having a fucking great hair day today. Need a haircut, but I shaved my beard. I trimmed the beard. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's been Gregway. Thank you for your support. We couldn't do without you. It's been an amazing month, but of course it's been an amazing 5 years. And I'm excited to have this journey with you for this year. See how we do with this, how long that blessing kid sticks around, and can I throw Andy really far? Find out soon.